back to give you the.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, but I'm gonna help you along with that a little bit. So my name is David. I'm one of the co-founders. I'm the CEO of the OpiAID. We actually brought a few of our team members with us today. We have Stan Martin, who's the other co-founder, and two of our data scientists, Matt and Colton, are here with us as well. Our team also includes Dr. McQueen, PhD in psychology and biometrics around opioid abuse, Dr. Wendy Donlan, who's a PhD in opioid addiction and reward theory, and Dr. Douglas Waltrip, who's the chief medical officer of our company and the head of psychiatry in New Hanover. I thought it important to tell you that so that you know that we're the real deal. We're here today because we're looking to grow and to share what we're working on. We hope that you can add to what we're going to say here today and help us to avoid some pitfalls while also helping us to amplify the value that we bring to the table. And we really appreciate 1 million Cups bringing us out. Thank you for the kind introduction, Jim. We really relish this opportunity. So what is OpiAID? For those of you in the room that haven't taken a quick peek at our company prior to coming, OpiAID is an AI-based platform used to aid in the fight against opioid abuse. We didn't call it OpiSolve because we don't have no illusion that we're going to solve the problem. In fact, we don't believe that any organization or any individual can solve the problem that they would have already. And in the fight against opioid abuse, we're winning a lot of victories, but we're still losing the war. And one thing that we learned after doing some research, and we really studied this problem for about 5 or 6 good months before we started the company back in September of 2018. And what we discovered is there's a couple of key issues with fighting opioid abuse that is kind of being pushed to the wayside, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today. You can click the next slide, please. Now, the problem around opioid abuse is obviously enormous. I put on some statistics here. You can just keep clicking through the slides, Stan, just 5-second delays. Sorry, I thought I was going to clicker. You know, opioid abuse causes just our nation somewhere around $500 billion a year. $500 billion. That seems ridiculously high, doesn't it? $500 billion. And it actually took over 70,000 people died of overdose last year. This is ridiculous. Now, while we know that it's an epidemic and we all can agree upon that, we can't agree about how we're going to solve it. Lots of folks are trying lots of different things, and we're seeing small little victories, but globally we're still moving in the wrong direction, I believe. So what we did was, with the skills and the talents that we had in-house, we sat down and we took a look at the problem. We said, you know what? I don't think technology, thank you very much, I don't think that technology is being applied in such a way that we can actually improve some things. You know, that we have IOP, we have talk therapy, we have medication-assisted therapy, all these things are working, but if they work together better, if we shared information, if we shared our best practices, these learnings, maybe we can improve things. So when we talk about opioid abuse, what we're really talking about is who we want to help. Who we want to help are our neighbors and our partners. You may ask who that may be. Next slide, please. So our neighbors are all those who are struggling with the disease of opioid addiction. And it is a disease. It's not some moral failing, it's a disease. So we treat it as such. But we refer to them as our neighbors and not addicts. And that's intentional. And it's because of stigma. You know, we found that the two main reasons, at least from what we're looking at, the two main causes for the acceleration of the collateral damage of opioid addiction is that, one, the stigma surrounding our neighbors. They feel like this is a moral failing, that there's something wrong with them, where in fact, any individual can become addicted to opioid drugs within 5 days. It's a physiologic response. It's not to say that every individual will, but we all have the capacity to have a physiological addiction to opioid drugs within 5 days. So that's not a moral failing, it's called a physiologic response. So what happens is people hide in the shadows, they suffer quietly while their life falls apart. So we're hoping to address that major issue that we came across, one, by changing our language, because words have power. So instead of being addicts, they're our recovering neighbors. They deserve love, and they deserve respect, and they deserve a community around them that's supporting them. And that's the ecosystem that we're building in Wilmington, which happens to be #1 per capita for addiction to prescription opioid drugs in the nation. Per capita, 11.6% of the population in Wilmington is addicted to prescription opioid drugs. That is a fact. So we're building a community, an ecosystem with our technology, yes, but through partnerships. We're creating an ecosystem in Wilmington to address this issue. The second challenge that we're up against is data intelligence being used by our partners. So partners are everyone in our community who's helping fight opioid addiction, the rehab centers. Is my volume, my speed okay? Because I can tend to go too fast. So rehab centers, hospitals, civic and faith-based groups, individual family members, they're all partners. By and large, they're not leveraging data intelligence in order to make better decisions. They're not going to make the decisions, but they should help guide the decisions. And this is why. If we flip to the next slide. OpiAID, we'll go back a second. OpiAID addresses both the stigma by the way that we address the opioid addiction to our neighbors and the data science portion. Can you flip? So what is OpiAID? We're developing what's called technology-assisted care. And this is very important. I can speak to the go-to-market strategy around that, but I want to focus on the solution, and we'll wait till the questions come up about that. But really what we're building, we're using data science to build prescriptive and predictive analytics to dive into the data and find those patterns that the humans aren't seeing so that we can shorten the length of care and improve outcomes. And also, ultimately, we're going to create customized treatment plans. And I can walk you through exactly what that's going to look like if we get there, right? Because this isn't a done deal. And we're also developing a wearable. And our wearable will have the ability, just like every wearable today, to get some real-time biometric data. The difference is the way we filter that data. We're going to be able to see signatures for craving and overdose through the wearable. And future implication of the wearable will also be a rapid response technology. Even the ability, which may seem a little Star Trek-y, but hey, we're some smart people in the room, right? To be able to reverse overdose with onboard naloxone. And we're patent pending on that right now. You want to flip to the next one? Now, what we believe is by combining data science and the wearable, we're going to improve outcomes. We'll also reduce costs. And none of this is guaranteed, of course, but this is what we speculate with some of the conversations we have going on within our group and with conversations with our partners. Next slide, please. So, no, go back a second. So you all remember Matrix, right? So, come on, that's awesome, right? I was like, is that really a GIF? I'm like, Matt, you know, actually told me that was you. So this is data science in the movies. Next. This is what we're actually doing. So we're part of the Google, how do I say this? So the Google startup ecosystem. We got accepted into the Google startup ecosystem. So we lean on Google Cloud for our compute. We use Superset to create these beautiful data visualizations about opioid addiction. Flip the next slide, please. And like this as well, because with data science visualizations like this, we can quickly contextualize large amounts of data so that it can help guide policy, it can help guide the course of care. I want to take a moment to get my words right. I'm not nervous, but we're going to flip to the next one. So with all this data science, why are we also talking about wearables? Is this a little bit too much? Are we being a little bit too brave jumping into wearable tech? Well, not really, actually. If you flip to the next slide, the reason that wearables can be so powerful is that we can get biometric measurements that are objective while folks are out in the community. One thing that we saw that was a big challenge is that once our neighbors leave their intensive care programs, these 28-day programs, we really don't objectively know what happens when they go back out into the community, back to the environments that cause them to crave, to use, that cause anxiety, stress, and these different things that we can pick up remotely. So if we can find out, for instance, that someone who just got out of a 28-day program, 5 days in is already struggling, if we see physiologically that maybe he needs his support team a little bit closer than we initially thought, we can implement a response before they go out and use. Maybe before they even realize how strong their cravings are right now because they're pushing it back. Getting that type of insight would be incredibly important. And we've got that's been validated by multiple partners that we met with. And for this reason, that data is so significant. If you can intervene faster, if you can even prevent one relapse, it's incredibly powerful. Flip to the next slide, please. So what we're doing is this summer, we're developing what's called the strength band and the first step. And this is actually going to be tested in conjunction with the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, and the Human Performance Lab. We submitted for an SBIR grant through the NIH one way or another, even whether we get it this month or not. We're going to continue to pursue this to validate our sensor array. Next, please. So keep going. Keep going. So how can you help us? What we really need is we need to be connected with more individuals and companies who have large amounts of data around opioid abuse treatment and addiction. we need more data sets. We don't have nearly enough data to be able to comb through, but we have the capacity. We have 3 data scientists in-house. We have the capacity to do this. They're super bright. We just need more data. And next, what we also need are more treatment centers to work with. We believe the first application of our wearable is going to be in a medication-assisted therapy treatment center. So we're talking right now with Coastal Horizons, who has a large footprint in Wilmington. They're wildly interested in doing this, but getting this congruent with their business model, a little bit challenging. They're not quite as progressive, though we love them, and we do believe that we're going to move forward with them. We need more organizations out there who are doing medication-assisted therapy like methadone treatment in order for us to come in and help them reduce the number of anoxic brain injuries that happen during the course of treatment. I can go into further depth about why that's so important, but we believe that's going to be the first application. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for having us. Who do I go for? What's the? You just want to call them and I'll just.
Carol, go for it.
Hey,
Over here.
I'll give you an example. In Cape Town, we have issue like this. We've come up with this addiction of prescription and all that stuff and all that. We have similar thing you're doing with the AI and all that stuff. But what we realize is the problem, they wear this band, they boom to the, we're already doing the Google, it booms to the satellite. But, then we go back to the community and find out, why is it so much drug addiction around the area and all that stuff. We work with the pharmacy, but there's some people do legal, but we figure out a way where it booms to the satellite. People wear the band, but we found out the issue there, is stress and poverty. So we ended up opening some community where they can get help and all that stuff and everything and all that. And this is one of the things which have been coming an issue in Africa with that.
Is it Carol?
Yes, it's been running for years in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana.
So Carol, is there a unique question? Because it sounds like there's a lot.
No, I'm asking you the question. The question with you right now. I'm saying why I'm telling you we decided to go to the pharmaceutical pharmacies.
Yes.
And found out, when they dispatch their medication, which one dispatch a lot. That's when we went there and figure out so that we can figure out
why. Supply chains.
Supply chain. That's what I was asking.
So in other countries, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm very familiar with where you're going with this, just because this has come up multiple times. In other countries, pharmacists actually guide a lot of the healthcare that goes on, especially in Europe, because they have a different system. And I've been in South Africa. I completely understand how massive the problem is. And in fact, there are large parts of Africa where they have their own concoction of an opioid that is way cheaper than heroin and is even more widely used. And actually is even more potent than heroin. It's almost like sniffing gunpowder. So while there's definitely a significant issue there, and I'm sure that they're solving it, we have our own unique socioeconomical and geographic footprint here in the US. I'm only interested, I'll be honest with you, my background is in healthcare imaging. I don't like the way healthcare is being done. I just don't. I think a lot of people would agree with that. I believe that technology can be implemented in such a way where we can make better outcomes scalable. We take away the mystique away around medicine and just have a healthier population. And while I don't propose to have an understanding of how to make things work in Africa, I think I know how to save one of my neighbors. And I think saving one neighbor is scalable. And even if it's only scalable within 5 miles of my house, it's good enough for me. So my goal is to save my neighbors. I'm tired of seeing people die on the streets. We live in too beautiful a town to see people suffer in quiet. I'm done with it. And when we assemble the right professionals to be able to get this done, what is holding us back genuinely is we don't have enough data, and we also don't have enough partnerships. We will plug this in when it's ready. Although we have everyone at the table, including U.S. congressmen, the drug courts, the whole group. Yes, sir, back in the back room.
I think the drug you were referring to is U47. Is a big problem. It's like 12 times stronger.
I'm sorry?
The drug U47 is probably what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But I like what you're doing because it's fantastic. It's close to home because I'm from a really, really affected area in New York where I've had, 13 friends die from overdoses. So, yeah, a lot of people from my high school are dead. And it's all from that. So I understand where you're coming from. But with your wearable, I think there should be some way that you can kind of integrate it where when it detects that you're overdosing, it should be some sort of Narcan release. So it can actually save your life rather than waiting for something.
Yeah, we're patent pending on that. It's going to have a Narcan release. Actually, we have IP just around how the pack is going to be powered too. Like there's so much thought been put into it. But yes, I love that, and I'm so very sorry. Genuinely, I mean that from my heart. I'm very sorry that you've seen that.
No, that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming today,
This
too.
gentleman right here in the third row.
Oh, sorry,
He's-
where are we
this
going?
right here, he's waiting.
Oh, yes, sir, I apologize.
No problem. I just wanted to make sure I understood the solution, because I get the wearable part of it. Is there another piece of opiate, or is it just?
It's wearable and data
wearable
science.
piece?
May I answer this question?
Yes, sir.
I think I'm pretty short on this. Look at it as a three-step approach. First, we are helping treatment centers to improve their efficiency by using machine learning. And second is the wearable device that will give them insight on the outpatient treatment, so to speak.
Yeah.
And the third, which is to your point, the long-term goal is to collect enough data to get down to the core of addiction and find out what are the top criteria that cause it. Like, that's my personal goal with that.
Okay, good. I understand that. So that leads to the other part of my question, which is that population at the MATs is a really, really tough population to impact. Have you thought about an earlier population, like
Yeah.
at the starting point?
You're so on point. So there's a lot of, I'm sorry, I apologize. And the reason you asked that question is you believe, there's always a why behind that. What was your name?
Franklin, my name's Franklin.
Franklin, thank you.
It's just because I mean, I'm a pharmacist, I work in healthcare, so I know kind of that, you know, at a certain point on the spectrum, it's harder to see results because it's a more complex patient, it's a more complex environment that's driving all the issues that they have related to this and associated things in their socioeconomic life. Versus if you're starting with a solution to help people as they're starting on pain therapy for whatever reason, post-surgery,
Yes, sir.
which is, you know, the introduction for most people that lead down this road, you might see a better result.
You're absolutely correct. It goes back to, thank you for that, and thank you for the background on that question too, because I think that creates some context. So absolutely, and there are a lot of organizations looking at that, doing early education, for instance. But in the circumstances where a lot of people tend to get addicted is after having their wisdom teeth taken out for the first time, and they're in their 20s, they got weeks or 2 weeks worth of Vicodin, when they only needed, you know, maybe a couple ibuprofen, right? So early intervention, and this is happening through EMRs now. So like Epic will flag stuff. Any doctors in the room? Do I have any physicians or PhDs? And okay. Okay. Well, yeah, lots of PhDs. So what I'm saying, long story short, is that even Epic is flagging certain things when they go to prescribe a certain medication, knowing their background, that it's saying this person might get, you know, might have a challenge. That's happening through Epic now. So some of that's occurring, but with our system, is there a thought to do some of that? I think that's a great idea. I think some of the partnerships in place are going to help make that part of our ecosystem anyway. I know there's like an NC harm reduction board that's going out and doing education like that, but implementing that, it's way more effective to catch early, just like anything. I'd be curious about how we could be part of that intervention. I'm not quite sure, but that's a great comment. Thank you, Franklin.
Two questions. One, are you partnering with someone like Garmin who's already got the satellite communications and already got the manufacturing capacity and everything? Because they've got a group right here in Cary on the wearable side. Second question is, do you know why Wilmington has the highest incidence of opiate abuse? Like, is there a simple assessment that tells you why?
Well, there's a couple of reasons why, but I don't think anyone completely understands. So, what's your name? I'm sorry? Derek? Eric, I apologize. So Eric, we would love to have a partnership with a company like Garmin. We do not have a partnership with them. We've been talking to a couple companies, BioStrap being one, because they have a clinical grade sensor array, and we were just going to apply new technology to it. We've been talking to a company called Balancel. I would love to know Garmin. That would be wildly over the moon amazing. We just haven't gotten there yet. With regards to why Wilmington is being so bad, one, it's the end of I-40, right? So I-40 is a major highway. So, you know, you get to the end of the highway, it's a beach town. There's lots of ways to get drugs in, lots of ways to get stuff out. You know, there's an affluent crowd. And actually, opioid addiction, the population it affects greatly. Lots of folks don't know this. It's the senior population. So we have a lot of retirees with a lot of expendable income who had pain and their medications got cut off, but they can still get drugs. That's not a problem. That's not a problem at all. So there's plenty of supply, there's plenty of ways to get it there, there's disposable income, and then there's an ecosystem that was created that makes it easy to get it, hide it, use it. It's a mess, but no one completely understands some of it's economics, and honestly, drugs follow the human trafficking chain too. And Wilmington, as sad as it is one of the top cities for human trafficking in the nation. Yes, true statement. Yeah, it's, I think, if I'm not mistaken, if you know, it's like top 10 or something in the city of the nation.
Drugs come from Greensboro, actually. They discharged to Greensboro, and that comes from a very, very reliable source.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not interested in the supply. I'm not. That's not the part of a solution that we're worried about. I'm not interested. The police and the government, they can worry about that. I don't want any part in that. All I want to do is save my neighbors. That's all I want to do. You know, any part that I can play in that. That's, and our team too. We collectively have that heart.
Okay, we have
White shirt.
that question. We're going to ping back and forth. Okay, you were next.
My degree from Illinois is in bioengineering, and I'm curious about, on the one hand, the biometrics and the wearable I get, but I'm interested also in the psychometrics. What are the root causes of why people become addicts in the first place, and how we link up which is the appropriate solution to that particular category of problem. So you've done psychometrics as well as the biometrics, or only the...
Yeah, so we have a lot of sticky parts. I apologize, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's all right.
So yeah, we're combining a lot of these different pieces. So I talked about the products that we're developing, the strength band. We keep it positive, it's the strength band. We're helping you become strong. You look for hope, you find the strength band. You find strength, right? The first step, which is going to be accelerometer, we clip to the shoe so we can look at actigraphy. But we also are using something called a Forte, which means one strengths. And it's an 8-minute style communication survey that teases out those psychometric measures that doesn't feel like a test. It takes 8 minutes. I can send you all one right now if you wanted to. And it will find out quickly if you are trending towards resiliency or you're trending towards using again because you're actually stressed. It will tease those things out, and it also shows you how to best communicate with you because of the type of person that you are. Maybe you want bullet points except instead of big explanations. Maybe you don't trust very well. And building those trusting relationships, especially early in treatment, is critical. So we have that psychometric piece there, but really it's going to be the data science that wraps everything together as the data science, and it will weigh it appropriately.
See, I could see immediately two links there, what you were saying about Wilmington and the relation with human trafficking. But on the other hand, you might have a community that's job stressed, like all the Rust Belt cities in the Midwest. The jobs went to China and nothing ever came to replace them.
That's right.
Stress that one person could maybe become addicted because they need to have their mind relaxed. Another person might see opportunity as a drug pusher.
And to that point, though, we have a woman on our team. Did you want to say something?
I just want to say real quick that we were finding some interesting correlations, like even, especially for teenage population, Instagram being a big contributor to the fact they start using heroin. I mean, it sounds unrelated, but it is actually like
you said before, it's a matrix.
Well, the thing is, data science is data science. These guys, it's not important for these gentlemen to know what each one of these facts mean. It's how they fit together, it's the relation that they have to each other. Right? We have folks in-house who are contextual experts on these individual pieces. So they give context to the data, and these guys give structure to it, if that makes sense.
So the data sets you're looking for, who owns these data sets?
Oh my God, I love you. Thank you for asking. So, health information exchanges. We are not finding enough progressive health information. I have multiple conversations going on, and they just don't know how to work with us.
I'm sorry, who was it?
So, Coastal Carolina Health Information Exchange, NCHIE.
Yeah.
Like, I have calls into both of them. We had multiple meetings with Coastal Carolina Health Information Exchange, which is like 39 clinics, 18 hospitals, all this aggregated data. But mostly it's the Health Information Exchange. NCHIE holds like 300 facilities worth of data. And it's like a federal mandated thing. If we can tap into that, our efforts are accelerated humongously.
It almost seems like our wonderful government who has recognized this as a problem should help enforce this, maybe some sort of public domain, open source.
I'm telling you. And we're exploring with that too. Like we went into the insurance companies and we've been pulling out code.
Is it a HIPAA issue?
Of course, actually the compliance is way higher than HIPAA. It's 42 CFR Section 2. It's actually higher, you know what I'm talking about? It's higher than HIPAA, like you can't share anything. But Stan and I own a separate company doing cloud infrastructure. We handle that secure data every day. We work with doctors, attorneys, government. We know how to do that stuff. We're Google partners, not a big deal.
Why don't you create a medical organization around your device? Why don't you actually create the help centers and everything else, and then you'll become the organization that can get the information?
Ooh, nice.
We're recording this, right?
Yes, yes. All right, we have
Because I'm doing nothing, by the way, so you let me know.
Yeah, okay. That's brilliant, okay.
Write it down. Write it down.
Write it down, but we also are recording, so not to worry.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to this. That's a great idea.
If you're gonna get funding, just go build the building, which I can do a cost for you. But I mean, just put it all together so it's a complete package, and then you have control from the data set to the person, to the treatment, to the metrics, which is gonna be a result at the end. Otherwise, you'll never get control. You'll never be able to lock it all down to where it makes sense to the rest of us. Because, you have to have control, especially, then you have to think about, which person is willing to wear the band, which person is willing, you have to think about which person is willing to wear the band, let alone, because the addicted person may not want the treatment, they want the drugs more than treatment. So you have to kind of nail that down and figure out who your target market is to have a metric. And then I would figure out with that medical organization, how much power you can get to go to the government to make sure that the manufacturers don't manufacture the same product to make it that addictive.
Wow.
Because that's really what, the problem is the manufacturers making trillions of dollars on this product, and they're not willing to change that medical piece, which they can do in a heartbeat, because they can redesign it to where it takes that addictive level off the market, and as soon as you take that off the market is when you'll see
That's all I want to see. I hope in 5 years we don't need this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would make me,
exactly.
that would make me
All right,
joyful.
so this gentleman in the white t-shirt, yeah, he's
Yes, sir.
next.
Thank you very much.
I just had a question about the revenue model of, how do you guys, where do you guys fit in? Are you guys like a, sort of like a help center where you're funded by somebody else, or are you like
I can answer this directly.
Yeah.
So we have 3 ways that we can generate revenue here. One is I want to get ICD and CPT coding in place for this. So this will be technology-assisted care, and we're going to follow the same pattern that medication-assisted therapy got when they got reimbursement for it. So there'll be certain type of billing code that rehab centers that do MAT will be able to bill for this, which they'll be able to prove leads to better outcomes, which outcome-based medicine is where everything's going anyway. So when they can charge technology-assisted care, they're offering a more advanced solution. They can charge more money and see better outcomes. They're going to generate revenue like that because certain diagnosis, ICD-10 codes, or ICD-10 now, will correspond to certain CPT billing coding. So they're going to get reimbursed. They're like, I love this. So that's one way we're going to do it. The other way we're going to do it is because we're patent pending on the way we're releasing naloxone, is I'm going to license this technology to the makers of Narcan so that they can have this as an additional delivery route for their medication. So they'll be able to white label and call it whatever they want as long as they're helping people and doing it right. We have no interest that while we will make money, we're all about people before profit. I will not work with anybody who's out there just trying to make a buck. We're trying to save neighbors. There's another company out there, I won't say their name, they're doing AI around opioid addiction because I know about our competitors, but they're strictly selling the data to keep people off of drugs because they want to make money with insurance companies. That doesn't make for a healthier population. It really doesn't. It saves risk on the insurance company. I want to save some people. We want to save some people. So those are the 2 delivery routes for revenue. The other one is this. $900 and some odd million have been put aside for the development of products like this. So by the U.S. government. So we want to leverage companies like SHI, master resellers of technology to government, to be able to tap into some of those revenue sources that have been put aside for some of these harder hit communities, if you will, like the Rust Belt. Hard hit communities where they put money aside to try to address this issue with technology and other innovative solutions. So using those master resellers like SHI, they have the relationships with government already. They can quickly tap into those funds.
One other thing I was confused by was that I didn't understand if you guys were a data company or if you guys were like a technology wearable like iWatch or whatever, and that was a challenge for me. It's like, okay, you're going to give a $400 piece of technology to a drug user, they can take it off and just sell it.
Absolutely.
So what's that was a struggle for me. In terms of the data, or is it a technology company, or where do you guys
It's a medical technology company first, but before we get there, we need to be a data company.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is this though, in the future, my goal is that our wearable isn't going to be needed. And in fact, if you look at what Apple's doing, they're testing their wearables to get them clinical grade now, right? So while other wearables won't be able to release naloxone like ours will, It's really the filter that we're building for the data. So just imagine Apple Watches, Samsung watches, any watch that you're wearing, that stuff can be reproduced in another country way cheaper than we ever could do in the US, right? So, but who has a huge multifaceted learned database set? We do, right? So if you want us to filter the biometric data coming through, you're gonna pay for our software and filter through your particular piece of hardware. And it will still pick up those measures that are needed and still get you the help that you need. We want to help people. So I'm not limited to, oh, only this watch is going to be no other watch. If you want, you got to get this one. That's not the idea, but we are building a very well-learned, multifaceted database. And in fact, I want to share this information with universities so they can advance their research too. So really, it's a data and a medical device right now, but in the future, maybe it's just data.
David, we have a question back here, and then Jim.
Yes.
Johnny's gonna wave.
Thank you.
Thank you. A great presentation, David. Your energy is just contagious.
Thank
Obviously,
you.
You're dedicated to your cause, so thank you so much. And it's very much needed. So if I'm addicted to pizza, I'm not going to want to wear a watch that lets everyone else know I'm addicted to pizza. And plus, I'm not really sure I want some third party telling me I can't have pizza or whatever. So
Absolutely.
have you done some focus groups that have with people that are dealing with opioid addiction?
Yeah.
And are they saying to you, yes, we would wear this, and do you believe it?
So let me make your name one more time.
Tony.
Tony. So Tony, what I hear from you is that you're concerned that some people might give it some kickback,
Yeah.
some resistance.
Push.
Absolutely. So yes, we have focus groups that are a part of this wearable research that we're doing this summer that are happening in cooperation with Coastal Horizons. They're actually leading our focus groups. And yes, that is definitely a concern. This is what we're doing up front to eliminate some of that. There are going to be 12 different levels of data sharing, and they're going to check off on what they're comfortable with. So some folks we know for a fact don't want anybody to know that they're having a challenge. So it's going to be like, only share it if I'm dying. Other than that, nothing, right? And you know what? That's perfectly fine. This is not being designed, and this goes back to the heart of what we're doing about addressing stigma. This is not going to be an ankle bracelet. You're going to wear this voluntarily. You know, this is going to save your life. We aren't interested in ankle bracelets.
It's discreet. It's going to be discreet. We
Yeah,
can
it's
tell
gonna
you
be hidden.
where exactly it's going to be right now. But,
So yeah, they can assign off on what level of data share they want to do, but if I were to present it to you this way, Tony, we have this thing called the strength band, right? This is what we found out, technology-assisted care. Of the folks that come through our program that wear this, 95% of them don't relapse, and no one has died. But those are the only ones that are fully compliant with it. It's completely up to you with what you want to do. Right now, do you know what's, I want to leave you with this. Successful rehabilitation today, let me tell you what success looks like. 8 years of using to get 1 year clean of sobriety. That's on average. With 5 relapses mixed in between. That's the average. That's successfully recovering. That's the average today, right? So what if it was 1 relapse or no relapses? And what kind of collateral damage in your life is happening in those 8 years? How's your life falling apart? Even if you put it all together and you were clean, what do you have left? That's what we're trying to help with.
All right, Jim, and then we'll come back.
First, I'd like to welcome Trey from Recruitify. We're trying to get him to pitch in the future. I believe he comes to us today from High Point, North Carolina. South region.
Second is, there are 3 organizations here that I've not heard you mention. One is the First Life Venture Center, which has a BARDA center within it that might have some funding to help you do this. Second is, I have not heard you talk about the Wireless Research Center, or RIOT, which is a wearable center. That's all they do.
I've heard of RIOT. Yeah, they're here, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
they're
Yeah.
here.
Please, introduction, please. We need them, guys.
We're guys.
And third is the Assist Center out of NC State, which is, again, a sensor-based wearable center. And all 3 of these have access, or at least 2 out of the 3 have access to the data that you're looking for, as well as the knowledge on the wearable side. So
BARDA means you may have to
Yeah.
show us
I can give you this.
a connection with sepsis. That's the only thing about the BARDA program. Just-
So they had an opioid,
That
when they had the thing 2 weeks ago, they
Okay.
had an opioid
Okay, good,
piece, so.
good, because initially it was just really
Yeah.
tightly focused on sepsis-related solutions, but yeah, definitely. And they're beating the drums hard trying to give money away.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yep.
Yeah, well, I'm really taking mine too, because this is going
Okay,
to be
so
a wild
those 2
session.
introductions we got for you for sure, yeah, and then Preston, you'll take care of the third, the Assist Center? Yep, all right, we're on.
Thank you, Preston.
Okay, hold on, one follow-up quick, because Mark's been waiting.
I just had one suggestion that I think you guys should do, if you guys think that Wilmington is the highest population that has the issue, why wouldn't you just focus on the city of Wilmington to prove that you guys can do it in one city and not?
That's what we're doing.
That's what, yeah.
Okay,
That's
so you're,
exactly what
so you're
we're doing.
focused just on the city of Wilmington?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and at the table, we have all the rehab centers meeting, come to our monthly meetings. We have the drug court and the head of the drug court, the district attorney's office. Dave, yeah. And you were 100% right, that's what we thought. We're gonna build a perfect blueprint here, so we can concentrate some nice study, and then we're gonna boop, 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 because the top 5 cities or top 3 cities in the country are in the state of North Carolina. So we're going to Greenville now.
Okay, we've got time for one last
Thank
one.
you,
You've been
sir.
waiting patiently.
Yes,
I
sir.
think this is a fabulous discussion, and what you're doing is excellent. I'm a former neuropharmacologist and got involved in this early 40 years ago. You gave an 11% statistic. Is that 11% current users, people who have been addicted, who are currently addicted? What is that 11%?
So 11.6% actually currently addicted to prescription opioid drugs.
That stats is to be specific, is actually 11.6% of the working population.
Oh, yes, working. Thank you, Sam.
Wow.
So the reality is probably even worse.
So we keep getting invited to Wilmington. I'm like,
Jim.
Hey, you know what, though? To your point, though, no place is perfect. And we're not without our issues, but Wilmington, I will say, I'm an advocate of Wilmington. I love my city. I love my city. And that's part of the reason why we're doing what we're doing. It's beautiful, and people there should be safe, you know, and should be able to have a healthy life. And I have 2 little girls growing up right now, and I want to be able to change this story so it's not become so much social pressure when they get to that age. But I appreciate the early work you did, too.
And another quick question. Can you make a phone app that could pick up
The biometric data?
The biometric data, so that people don't have to have big things on their wrists or things like that.
That's what I was talking about, the power. We can talk later. So yeah, we have tons of capacity, for software development.
Unfortunately, I think we could go forever, but with that, we'll have to end in case people had to scoot. But thank you, David, the whole team. Thank you, Jared.